Hi, and welcome to another episode of Apprentice Time with Rainy Bonsai. I'm your host, Jamie. Today, I have been asked to do some cleanup on a handful of trees here. I have four Yamadori that were collected this year. One is a uh, Douglas fir, three Colorado blue spruce, and then I've also got this Trident maple air layer that was separated back in the spring. Now, my goal is only to assess health and clean up anything that the tree has selected to shed as its transition to being in a container. If we look at this spruce here, um, there are lots of just dead shoots. Going into fall and winter, the tree is deciding what branches it wants to keep going into next year. This is not an absolute need right now. It's something that ultimately needs to be done at some point during the process of making this tree into a bonsai. Um, but ultimately, I'm doing it because of cleanliness reasons. They're dropping these old needles, and it's just going to look nicer without having them everywhere and all of these just dead sticks hanging off of the trees. Starting with this Trident maple, I am coming through and just snipping these leaves off. I do want to show you that I'm not plucking and I'm not fully removing the leaf. Overall, I think that this Trident maple is in pretty good shape. We had a couple of these air layers that we separated off this year, and some of them are definitely worse for wear. But this one has been pretty vigorous. It's been growing pretty strongly throughout the year. And since the time it was separated and put into this pot, we haven't really touched it before today. Like, yeah, some weeds were pulled in the pot, but we just let it do its thing and put focus on growing as healthily as it could. This is one that I am particularly excited to see how it will continue to develop. I think it would actually make a pretty fun cascade or semi-cascade tree, but I'm not sure, how much of a bend could actually be gotten out of this. I can't say that I've actually really worked much with tridents. I say that. I separated some air layers and I've been taking care of them all year. I haven't got to go hands-on with them really. So I know I haven't been putting out a lot of videos lately. And I'd like to apologize for that. I am a full-time student, and that takes a lot of time out of my day to day. That being said, I do still work down here um, in the First Branch garden. I just don't always have the time or energy to set the camera up. And things have been slowing down for the year. Um, I've also started providing assistant services here locally in the Denver area, and it's it's growing. I'm actually pretty excited that there is a market for um, just help because how do I say this? You know, I don't think there's a book out there that would tell me step by step, okay, here's how you start a bonsai business. But I'm pretty lucky to have such an amazing teacher and mentor, and Todd Schlafer. And I like to think that some folks locally have just noticed how serious I am about just wanting any opportunity to go assist with something bonsai adjacent. Um, so between that and school, it's been hard to find time to record. But I have been trying to put out some more interviews with local artists. So I hope you guys are enjoying that content. Um, if you have any feedback on those interviews that I've been doing or questions you'd like to see covered, please just let me know. I'd love to hear it. Ultimately, I want this channel to be um, exciting for folks who are just getting into bonsai, who feel like it's unapproachable, because it is surprisingly approachable. I consider myself a bit of a recluse, and just every time I go out into the bonsai community, I am blown away by how welcoming and friendly everybody is. Um, and it's been exciting to make all these awesome new plant friends. If you're not involved with your local bonsai society, check it out. There's probably some great people nearby who would love to help you figure out how to get started, figure out what species are good for the area you're in. Like it, yeah. And speaking of bonsai clubs, I was uncertain if I wanted to share this today, but I have been um, placed on, how do I say this? I'm going to be helping out with the video recording process that the Rocky Mountain Bonsai Society does for our monthly meetings, and helping with some of the tech and social media stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that. Okay, next up we have this Douglas fir. This one I think is in great shape considering it's 1 year out of collection. It doesn't look like it's really shedding much. What it has shed has already dropped its needles, and really it's just a few wispy twigs scattered about. I'm going to bring this a little bit closer. You see this? Okay. So when I'm making these cuts, I'm not coming flush. I'm coming out a little bit and just making my snip. This way, there's a little bit of room for dieback. It's gonna get healed over pretty quickly, and we're not leaving like a bald spot along the branch. Hey, bonsai enthusiasts! We'd like to take a moment to thank our new sponsor, Mirai. Supporting this channel is easy. Just check out the affiliate link below. Now, we're especially excited to talk about Mirai's inspiring new nonprofit, the One Tree Project. Their mission is to connect people with nature through bonsai fostering a bond between a single tree and its caretaker, with the vision of conserving forests and ancient trees worldwide. The One Tree Project is looking for passionate volunteers to help build a youth program and spread the word. Want to learn more or lend your support? Check out the link below. Let's grow this movement together, one tree at a time. Before I move on to this one, I want to um, correct myself from earlier. I said it was 3 spruce and 1 fir. Um, in broad strokes, just glancing at this guy, I mis-ID'd this as a spruce. But the growing tips here, these orange little nubs, are a great tell for fir. Great way to tell them apart. Another way is how flat the needles are. If I grab one, pinch it between my fingers, it will roll, but I have to really work for it. Whereas spruce needles are plump and are very easy to just roll between your fingers. Now, this one I don't think is in as great of shape as the other one. It's definitely shedding some side branches, but it's put on a lot of growth this year, which we can tell by the color difference here at the tips. It's not all throughout the tree, but most of this grew, which is a great sign for a tree that was collected this year. That tells us that it has an adequate root system and it was able to actually put on some mass for the year. Ooh, look at this awesome deadwood. So I'm not going to touch any of this. Part of that is just the fact that this is not my tree. I am not styling this. Um, this will likely go to a student down the road. That's not my decision to make, and it's not what I was told to do with this tree. I'm going to leave that deadwood untouched. That's different from just a dead shoot, which needs to be gotten out of here. Whoever down the road is very likely to decide that they don't like the thin, wispy deadwood. So I'm going to leave it, but it has enough age from its time in the wild that I'm not going to remove that. Now, these are just old needles, which we can tell because it's all inner growth that's shedding. This is this year's growth and last year's growth. So I think it's looking pretty good. But where we have last year's growth and just no buds, that's not going to put anything on. I think this tree is really just a stunner. I think for me, somewhere right through here, um, just feels so classical to me. Like, I want to just open this up and show off these gnarly curves and bends in it. I'm excited to see what happens with this one down the road. Okay, now we're moving on to the spruce. I want to say that this one was collected 3 or 4 months ago. And looking at it, all the little tips have growth. Now, some of it looks like it's maybe died back, but the tips are looking great. So I'm not too concerned about all this bronze I'm seeing because the tree is just reallocating its resources. It's decided that with its hampered root system, it doesn't need some of this. And honestly, fair, I would be pretty upset if somebody cut off my feet too. I'm kind of hoping to come across some Cooley spruce gall while we're doing this, just so that I can show that to you guys. Um, at least locally, it's a bit of a scourge. Good news, it's purely cosmetic, so there's nothing to really worry about. Bad news is it's horribly ugly. Here's that spruce gall. So what happens is a bug makes its way inside the tree through the buds, goes inside, eats all those delicious nutrients, and then lays its eggs. What we're seeing here is where the babies burst out of basically a mutated growth tip. This one definitely has lots of little side branching that was shed. I'm sure some of it was dead prior to collection, but these little twigs um, don't add to the beauty of the tree. Okay, on to our last tree. This one, I I don't know that I feel too great about vigor wise. It's shedding a lot, and I'm not seeing a lot of growth tips from this year. But we'll see. We'll see. Not a lot of buds over this way. Definitely looks like maybe this whole low branch is going to be shed. Which is a bit of a shame. Um, but that's the risk in Yamadori. Collecting trees is a traumatic process for them, and they have to make choices to survive the process. I hope that branch survives, but it's it looks pretty weak to me. I'll be very curious to revisit it next year. Back this way, there's a little more vigor. I'm at least seeing buds over here, so that's good. The upper portions at least have some vigor to them. So I think that's a good sign for its overall health. Please don't think I'm saying this with confidence. I said I'm feeling optimistic. I'm still learning all of this. Um, and it can really only be gotten through the repetitions, which is, I think, one of the great things about working here is I at least get those repetitions and I get to see the season changes, and it's it helps a lot with understanding how a tree will develop. And now that I'm actually getting into these upper portions of the tree, I feel a lot more confident about its overall health. I think it's really just that low branch that looks pretty weak, because there's just lots of great buds through here, and I'm not seeing a lot of shoots that died off this year, like this one. Like, for the most part, everything is holding on to its needles, which is a great sign in this first year of collection. Thank you guys for working alongside with me today. I hope you found this video helpful. Um, whether learning from my mistakes or my haste and mis-IDing spruce and fir, or even just knowing what to do to start cleaning up your own trees. I do want to stress as a point of caution, don't just go collecting trees. It is a traumatic process for them, and especially in the first couple years, you do not want to be aggressive with what we do with the trees. These guys, once they got potted up, they were given lots of shade. They went under the benches, and we kept an eye on them. When they were first potted up, it's very important to let them fully dry before watering again, um, because all their roots are damaged, and it's 1,000,001 infection points if you keep things too wet. So this year, the goal has been just keep it alive. Let it do tree things, think tree thoughts, and come to peace with the fact that they don't live in the mountains anymore. Part of them adjusting to being in a pot means that they're going to shed branches. It's it's natural. They have to cope with reduced access to water and nutrients. And over time, some of that stuff will be cleaned up and edited out, but we don't want to cause further stress by going through and snipping healthy branches or trying to pinch back for budding. That is a horrible idea at the end of the first year of collection. Now, the Trident maple, um, we didn't do anything with it because it was just potted up. You're going to see this as kind of a recurring thing. Is you can do one traumatic thing to a tree per year. Don't do too much. Um, but it was pretty vigorous this year, so I'm very happy with that. I am excited to see how that's going to develop with time. Thank you guys for watching. If you found this content helpful, please like and subscribe, share this video, and leave a comment. Please let me know if there's anything you'd like me to cover in a future video, or if you have an idea for something you'd like me to talk about. We'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching.